think we can all agree that nowadays gaming is just too cheap. Think about these multi-billion-dollar gaming companies. They need our money so much more than we do. Why shouldn't games become more expensive? Oh, what? No one thinks that? Huh, shocking.
I've got 3 questions for you today. Mike Ybarra, ex-leader of Blizzard Entertainment, wants to know why we don't tip game developers. And not just
I want to know why Mike Ybarra doesn't give me half his salary because I play his games in that case also.
any game developers. We're not talking about itch. Oh no, we're talking about AAAs. Why are you and me not tipping our AAA developers? The second question, fans want to know why Bethesda is breaking Fallout 4 mods and causing delays to Fallout London. There's a lot to talk about there. And then the final question.
Because if Fallout London succeeds, it's just yet gonna be another blemish on Todd Howard's name, because yet again, the better Fallout was not made by Bethesda, which just keeps on proving that Bethesda has no idea what they're doing with Fallout, which is expected.
And a puzzle. How do you reach 1 million sales of your indie game after you've already given away 6.6 million copies of it for free? Quite a lot of things to get into today and all of that after a word from our sponsor. Psych, there isn't a sponsor, but there is Bellular.Games, and that's doing a few things. The one Mike seeming like a real goofy, foolish dude. Right, Mike Ybarra has spent his time since leaving Blizzard looking for, as he put it on LinkedIn, the best place on earth, high growth opportunities, and of course, playing games as he traveled the world. So, you know, good for some. And of course, as unemployed people currently seeking high growth opportunities are wont to do, he was sitting around trying to come up with ways to save the games industry, saying, I've thought about this idea for a while, as a player, since I've been diving into single-player games recently. When I beat a game, there are some that just leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another 10 or 20 bucks because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't even try to nickel and dime me every second. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War...
Wait, doesn't this automatically go and prove the point that Blizzard should not get more money because they do nickel and dime you, and, you know, they still want you to pay more anyway? Doesn't this prove that Blizzard is greedy also, Mike? Please.
Or Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, etc. I know $70 is already a lot, but it's an option at the end of the game.
I'm sure the millionaire Mike Ybarra believes that $70 is a lot. Dude, this is like Asmongold saying, oh, I survive with $2,000 a month. Man, who believes this crap? There was a time where, I'm a millionaire, but I'm relatable. I also wear dirty clothes and not drive a Ferrari while they're driving multiple Ferraris in actuality. I'm relatable, guys. Who buys this crap any longer? Like, Mike Ybarra doesn't even know what a $50 banknote probably looks like. Neither do I, though. I'm not American.
I wish I had at times. Good games are that special. And he goes on to acknowledge that he knows most people will dislike the idea. Now, I do think it's funny the way that he talks about this, but only in the context of nickel and diming, because we can all immediately say, but Mike, person who was involved with the development of Diablo 4, that game, in fact, it had something even better than tipping. It had tips that actually gave you cosmetic perks at the end in the form of its store. So yes, Mr. Ybarra, there's no way you thought about this for more than like 5 minutes, right? Like, what's going on here? There's an already ongoing conversation.
Well, if he thought about it for 5 minutes, that means he at least thought about it longer than the makers of the Fallout TV show. About does everything and anything they do even make sense? Nice.
In games about the $70 versus how much games actually cost to make, and that's not really what this is about. This is looking at 5 or so extremely popular games, all costing $60 to $70, and effectively saying he got so much extra value, he'd like to pay even more for them. So, in a way, you could say the core concept ain't stupid. It's just...
So, if I finish a game and there's no extra value and I think it was dog shit, do I have the option of getting $20 or $30 back? Yeah. If I play Starfield for 4 hours and can't refund it later on, can I ask Bethesda for my $20 back? I mean, hey, if it goes one way, it should go the other way.
Just everything about how he's described it is kind of stupid. Now, obviously, in the American context, which is probably what Ybarra is sort of speaking from, tipping is a thing. It's a long...
Dude, even Americans no longer tip, because why the hell would you tip, okay? Then, if you're gonna tell me, I can't survive off my wage if you don't tip me, then, you know what? That's not my problem. Okay, get a fucking real job in that case, dude. Or make your actual whatever the hell pays your salary to give you a real salary in that case. If you need to rely me on giving you handouts for you to survive, it's not my problem. You're doing something wrong.
Long-standing flashpoint between, whether employees should be provided livable wages, right, by their, by their employers, versus the idea.
Remember, Dude, remember that video about the new McDonald's or whatever in America that's almost fully automated and you can give a tip at the end? Bruh.
Idea of somebody only getting a few bucks an hour but then making back their money in tips. Here in the UK, tips are a thing, but not like the Americans, and we just kind of leave change from a bill to say thanks for good service. It's kind of the way it works. What Ybarra is describing, though, is essentially a retroactive pay...
I mean, actually, tipping does exist in my country. I'm pretty sure tipping exists in every country, but it only exists in actually restaurants with high-quality shit, okay? So, if someone is gonna tell me, hey, give us a tip for playing Diablo 4, I'm gonna be like, what do you mean? You got my order wrong. I waited here for 20 extra minutes because of how bad you are, and there's a homeless guy dying of fentanyl overdose right there next to me. What do you mean you want a tip, you absolute muppet? Yeah, that's not happening.
What you want model for video games. And the hilarious thing is, that already exists. If you want to pay even more for a highly popular game like Buckshot Roulette, you can. Just go to itch.io, because the whole pay based on your own, say, ability to pay or perception of value, that actually does exist in the indie space. But then you go back to Ybarra and you see, hang on a second, this is all big AAA games. So, if you were to tip there...
Well, Mike Ybarra is not gonna go to an indie studio to work. You can guess where he's going. He's exactly looking at the AAA development space.
For Red Dead Redemption 2. If you were to give Rockstar Games a tip for making Red Dead 2, where would the money go? Because it wouldn't actually go to those staff, would it? I mean, it wouldn't go to the contractors who worked in the game, the staff who maybe left after the grueling development process, or maybe were laid off. No, that money would just go into the company as general revenue, right? It's weird. I mean, what he seems to want is for developers to be paid residuals for their participation in a project every time it gets a sale, which is actually how most other creative mediums work, even ones with pretty large workforces. But if that was to happen in games in these larger companies,
almost none of it actually works that way.
That would kind of require a bit of a restructuring of the industry. But no, what Ybarra is actually describing here is a situation where after a game launches, the publisher and management can just make more money in their bottom line on an ongoing basis. And again, he was involved in the Diablo 4 store. Again, the way that he says nickel and dimed in his tweet, I mean, is that basically a tacit admission of what Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 with their built-in optional tip stores do? So yes, this is very weird. It is very goofy. It has sparked a bit of a conversation, mostly I think because there's already microtransactions stuffed into so many games. Ultimately though, no, don't tip the developers, just buy the game and consider buying their next one. I think they'll be perfectly happy at that. What a strange ass situation, as is unfortunately the Fallout TV show, because well, if
Fallout TV show, there we go.
To Fallout London, maybe some rough news, and trust me, you should be looking for...
Oh, by the way, everyone's talking about how more people are now playing Fallout because of the TV show. No one's mentioning the fact, as it turns out, All the Fallout games are at a 75 to 80% discount currently. 76! It's at an 80% discount because it's so goddamn garbage. They can't get away with a 75% discount. Let that sink in for a moment. That is amazing.
Forward to Fallout London. Now, it's very prescriptive of me, but it really does look marvelous since we reported on it maybe a year ago. Yeah.
Word on the street is you can shoot a rat and it's gonna drop 15 shanks. Everything in Fallout London drops shanks. It's nice. And there's metal detectors on every block. It's great.
Just capture the imagination. So, the next Fallout game is not going to be out until after the next Elder Scrolls game, so you'll probably be waiting like 10 years. And for Bethesda, that's rather tricky. They don't really have a big new Fallout, but what they do have is player numbers across all Fallout games spiking, and they're also doing some free weekends and tie-in giveaways, which of course...
Dude, by the way, I'm probably gonna talk about this in a different video, but the fact that the numbers are spiking and yet there is an actual discount is so bad. It is an admission of defeat to a degree that the Fallout franchise has, just fiddled so much. Because you have this TV show coming out that a lot of people are interested in to see if it's good, if it's bad, if it's whatever. You expect a surge. You expect a surge of new players. You expect them to buy the game, and you're expecting the old players to come back. I wonder how poor the sales are, because there is no way you put a 80% discount when you're doing something like this. It is not worth it. Which means they're either trying to invigorate a new fan base for these games, and that's why they're making it, or it's completely screwed and no one's buying, and they're afraid that no one's gonna buy it otherwise. It is kind of crazy.
Of course, all good, all makes sense. Matt Piscatella points out US daily active user ranks for the Fallout games on Steam as of April 14th compared to April 7th. You basically have Fallout 4 going to 5th place where it was 63rd, 76 going to 7th place when it was 54th, and Fallout New Vegas, I think widely considered to be the best, that went to 10th. Up from 83rd. So funny enough, like 76, it's just quietly being played. It is actually a game that I definitely want to check in on.
It's shit. It's still complete garbage. Do not. Even with the 80% discount, do not buy. It is the worst Fallout experience by far. It's almost not even Fallout. 76 is the direction that Fallout is taking about making everything mystical and Lovecraftian. This is not even Fallout any longer.
Purely because it had one of the most lolcow launches that I think we've ever seen in the industry, but they didn't abandon it. And a lot of other studios probably would have. But anyway, Fallout 76...
Well, why would you abandon it if people are buying the microtransactions?
Broadly agreed.
Wait, actually, what did I just notice here?
Fallout 76, which is
So, I mean, this is the quality of Fallout 76. You see this blood splatter? How the hell is this a thing? How is this there? How does that work? Considering they can't even make a proper animation. This blood splatter here cannot be there because the blood is clearly splattering in that direction because you can see this, okay? And many of those. So the blood is splattering in that direction to the middle of the table. So this doesn't even work like that. Someone just took this blood and pumped it on on the top layer, okay? This is the quality that we're talking about. No one gives a single F.
Broadly agreed to be a lot better since it was at launch. It actually just got a new content update with a new region, so that game's good, and that means the spotlight is falling on Fallout 4 with updates to it coming out on April 25th.
Paid
now,
mods.
These are mostly for the next-gen consoles, right? Quality, performance mode settings, general improvements, the big promise being 60 FPS, better resolution scaling. Yeah, really nice stuff. Now,
Paid
these editions
mods.
were initially promised for 2023, so they are a bit late, but, you know, because they've been
They set this date back like 5 times or something. It's ridiculous.
late, it does mean there are some new Creation Club mod packs and things like that. Now, for PC, there are some fixes, some improvements, quest fixes, the addition of a formal ultra-wide modes, stuff like that. It's pretty nifty. And to the other side of the performance scale, the game is now officially rated as Steam Deck verified. Thing is, though, when this happens, and a previous patch actually did this to Skyrim, players and modders are pretty worried. You could even say they are rather mad that this stuff basically break their mods, especially because those mods have been finished for years, right? So the game's going to be updated, the mods have been finished for years. Will the modders come back to update their mods? But to be honest, that all looks small compared to the situation with Fallout London, because their release date was April 23rd. 2 days before the update would drop and potentially break it. Again, a mod, it is built on the foundation of the core game. So this update, being 2 days after their planned release, is basically the worst possible timing. And even if it basically can load up and work, the amount of QA, bug fixing, maybe polish issues that could appear, it really is brutal. And considering how public the mod team has been, and that people from that team have been hired by Bethesda, I mean, it's pretty obvious there will be a fair bit of crossover of interest here. So for now, they've basically asked for people to not go super angry at Bethesda yet, to hold off on the torches and the pitchforks. They don't talk to Bethesda. Bethesda doesn't talk to them outside of community managers. And generally, it is the case that CMs are typically just trying their best and they have to deal with a whole bunch of shit. But they've got to deal with a whole bunch of shit, but they don't necessarily have really the power to do much about their circumstances, which can lead to it being yeah, pretty tricky job. The point here is that any update to the game, even one that they've known about since 2022, that will obviously cause problems for all of the mods. And because of this, Fallout London has been delayed indefinitely until they can make sure that the underlying mod tools and support things like, say, the script extender will be working. So we're basically left hoping that this will be fairly quick, but I mean, they have to say indefinitely because they have no idea what this is going to break. And sadly, the bad news keeps coming because they've also had to explain that this mod is so large that it can't fit in consoles and it cannot be distributed by Nexus.
It's not like anyone cares about it not fitting in on consoles, honestly.
Mods. That, though, has bred an opportunity because the team at GOG, and I know we used to call them Good Old Games, they actually prefer to be called GOG for some reason. So the team at GOG are working with Fallout London to distribute the game. And the team's basically dream is to be able to do this as a standalone mod like Enderal. Now, Enderal, if you don't know about it, it actually got a full Steam release. Now, you do need to, of course, own Skyrim. TLDR, it is absolutely incredible. The previous mod that they did, which is in German for Oblivion, is also absolutely incredible and totally worth your wait. So if you're really wanting some Fallout London, go check out Enderal. It's pretty damn great. Anyway, we'll have to wait a little bit longer, but to be honest with you, Fallout London, it really does look like it's worth the wait. And it's not like we're covering today's story from the sake of drama. I know some people are thinking, you know, oh, Bethesda feels threatened. They've killed it. I think that's a little too much. I think that this is just big company doesn't...
I don't know. Todd Howard is an extremely petty man at the end of the day.
Give a shit. Modders get inconvenienced. But to be honest, this whole thing is just an excuse. So the more people know about the mod that a team have put together, that really does look to be an incredible piece of work. Finally, then, one of the most interesting game releases we've had in a while, and it's been a while full of absolutely fascinating game releases. So, Landfall's CEO has confirmed that their April Fool's giveaway for the co-op horror title Content Warning actually made their game one of the best-selling
I have not even heard about this ever, okay?
releases ever for them. It's crazy. And this team have made games you've heard about before. Stuff like Cluster Truck, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, and
Ooh, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. That okay.
Grounds, Stick Fight, the game. But basically, they're usually making smaller titles that are built around really cool physics interactions. As for this game, I mean, it's channeling Lethal Company energy, but it's
Yeah, that does feel like it, honestly.
more around the meta gameplay joke of creating like found footage video content from paranormal expeditions. As somebody who, in the same way that people watch WWE, I have been known to be partial to the odd episode of Ghost Adventures, and I can totally see that kind of like swirling around the inspirations for this. But to say this is popular would be an understatement. This game was downloaded 6 million times in day one. 6 million. Over 6 million. In
Looks cool, to be honest.
fact, for free. How do you make money when 6 million people own your game? Apparently by just putting it on sale, because they sold 100,000 copies in day 2, 125,000 copies in day 3. You always love to see the curve go like that. And then that rising to 700,000 copies within the first week. Now, for context here, they say that 100,000 is multiple times more sales than Landfall have ever made in a single day. And again, when you look at a game like Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, I mean, everyone's seen that knocking around YouTube or Game Pass.
True, it's pretty fun, but it's fun in the sense that you don't want to actually play it. You just want to kind of see what people do with it. Because playing it involves that you have to come up with shit, and that's not fun, okay?
Or whatever. They clearly know that their gamble is paid off here, and it is a gamble. I mean, look, it just depends like how much dev time was in this. Was this like a full project that they kind of relied on for money? Hard to really know. But if you think about a game like this, it's very much working on the network effect, right? And in a way, it's actually kind of genius, because the whole point of the network effect is that the more people are engaging with something, the more value that thing has, right? So that is why
That is a typical thing, yes.
you know, your Facebooks and stuff started to explode and get really, really, really popular. And even though, to take the rapper formerly known as Twitter, to take Twitter, right? Even though a lot of people are angry at the platform now, even though, you know, I mean, the bots, they're annoying. Even though you've got all of those problems, Blue Sky struggled. Threads has struggled. And I know, like, you know, people running their
All of that garbage is dead, by the way.
Mastodon instances, and you know, all the people who are interested in federalization and all that, that's all well and good, but it's definitely more niche communities because the network effect of Twitter just ended up being so damn strong. And we see this in so many other things.
People constantly are saying this, but everyone's unhappy with Twitter. What? Why don't I hear it? I just hear people randomly throwing it out there. Oh, Twitter's bad. And, like, I don't know who's actually unhappy with it currently. I don't know these people. I just hear someone constantly say, "Oh, Twitter bad." Twitter has had a record amount of new users, by the way, but it's losing value. I mean, the whole conversation about that is essentially, I don't like Elon Musk, so Twitter is bad, kind of, the deal. Interesting. It's always funny.
I mean, Lethal Company, fantastic example. And a lot of that push into like co-op games, a lot of that is just built off the network effect. In this case, though, you basically get to choose the network effect to be your kind of primary growth vehicle. I mean, for a game like this, it's multiplayer. That makes complete sense. Our game is a single-player narrative game. So, you know, we're going to have word of mouth for people who are like, hey, I enjoyed this story. Go do the story. It's very different for something like this, because now 3, maybe 4 of your friends could have got this game for free. They're then...
Yeah, I guess that's it. Interesting game, I guess. Well, that was Billy here. This was Quizzer Said Send. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I haven't thought anything. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.